everybody, and welcome to Content Creator Confessions. Today, we are talking about the most popular social media apps, which one you should be on if you're just starting off, or maybe you're looking to add another platform to your repertoire of platforms that you are creating content on. Hi, Latasha. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing just swimmingly. I can't wait to talk
Ooh.
about social media platforms because actually I can. This is a conversation I really get annoyed with because there's too many of them. That's my gripe. So let's speak to the people about how to choose.
I agree. There's a lot out there, and I think that's why we have come together to really sift through the noise for everybody and giving a very real perspective of what platforms are doing well and which ones that we're on, why we're on them, more on that to come. But we wanted to talk about this initial research that we found from Pew Research Center that states that compared to 2021, looking at how it was in 2023, YouTube has actually seen one of it's currently the most used social media platform, if I'm correct, right?
Hmm.
Most used, most engaged.
Yeah.
And behind that, we have Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, LinkedIn, all going down from most popular to least. Or
Hmm.
if you want to say least, I mean, these are all still huge, huge
Yeah.
platforms. And the study looked at how they differ in 2023, growth, things like that. And TikTok actually had the biggest growth, which makes my, as a TikTok creator, makes my heart warm up
Yeah.
a little bit. Followed by, it looks like Instagram had the next highest. And YouTube, even though it's the most used social media platform, still saw an increase between those years. So clearly it's still dominating, and I'm sure that makes you happy.
Definitely. Yeah, it looks like on this, the only ones that were down were Facebook, down 1% or 1 point,
Yeah.
and X, Twitter, which I want to, okay, this is something that I was going to say to you before we pressed record, but we're going to say it to the people as well, is that this data is a little bit out of date because we all know that X, formerly known as Twitter, they've been going through a lot since the Elon Musk acquisition, and specifically since the election that we just had in the US. They've been seeing a massive decline of
Mhm.
users. So that is really not factored in just because that is so new. I couldn't find a study that reflected that. And similarly, I couldn't find much on Threads by Instagram, which is kind of an ex competitor,
Mhm.
and Blue Sky, which is the more journalisty, politically progressive ex competitor. So keep that in
Mhm.
mind. I think X is also a little down there
Yeah,
these
and,
days.
and to double down on that, you had said you looked, you could not find something. If anybody wants to share something, we can talk about it in a future podcast episode. But clearly, the information's not easily available. So we hope that in this podcast episode, talking to you all about our personal experiences and what we see and have our knowledge throughout the years to contribute to that, we can give you kind of the final say, if you will,
Yeah.
on the best platforms out there to be creating content on.
Yeah.
And I want to start by talking to you about why you chose YouTube. I mean, clearly, YouTube to me has been around so long. So the fact that it's so largely used, according to the study, and is even seeing growth, that's a huge difference to continue to see growth.
Hmm.
Why did you how did you know to start on it?
Well, I was a young fortune teller, and I knew. No, I wish I could take credit. I wish I could be like, "Oh my gosh, I was so smart. I knew YouTube was." No, I didn't. And I think this is my answer to the podcast. If people just want to know my thoughts on platforms, it's the best platform is the right one for you. Truly, because I have friends that are crushing it and they only have a LinkedIn account. They
Yeah.
only have an X account. They only have a YouTube account and they are making tons of money as a creator. So I think it really is important to choose the platform that fits what you want to do as a creator first.
Hmm.
Like, what can you be creative on? What can you have fun on? So that's my answer, honestly, is I was creating videos and I also had the luxury, I guess you could say, of not many options.
True.
Because again, I feel for those of you who are out there thinking, I want to be a creator. Where do I start? Nowadays, there is a lot of options. And it's like there's a communication theory about that, where it's like when you go to the grocery store and there's 500 brands of cereal, you end up picking none.
Yeah,
But if there's like three, you're like, okay, cool, this one.
right.
Same thing with social platforms. There's just too many out there. So I wanted to create videos, and YouTube was where you created videos.
I didn't even think about that with like the lack of options and the lack of different platforms kind of having the same type of thing. Like for instance, I did TikTok, vertical video, short form, and then Instagram added it. So then at that point, if you're a creator, you would say like, okay, I want to make short form videos, but like both of them do it.
Yep.
Which should I choose?
Yep.
Which one do I pick?
Yep.
I feel like for me, I chose TikTok first. Well, actually, I didn't even choose TikTok first. I actually chose YouTube because of your influence, probably, of like, hey, YouTube's great. And I
Yep.
said, it's really fun to make long form videos. I enjoyed the process. It took a lot of time,
Yes.
which I think I was not loving as much because,
Mhm.
when it comes down to recording, editing, all the other stuff, promoting, you have to put a lot into a YouTube video. And that's why I think, though, YouTube subscribers are a really high quality audience.
Yeah.
And my brother actually, after doing a year of making YouTube content, kind of realizing the platform wasn't for me in a little bit of a way, he said, you should really be on TikTok. I kind of needed that external source to tell me that,
Yeah.
because he knew I was making YouTube videos. And he was like, no, TikTok's this new thing. It was Musically. You got to check it out. And it was right around the time in 2020.
Hmm.
And I made a couple videos. They were really fun. I enjoyed it before I even started thinking more seriously about it. And then, if you haven't watched my episode about how I became a content creator, that's when I had my one moment of having an overnight success on a one video, 3,000 followers, all this engagement, things like that. And that's when I really saw like, okay, TikTok's definitely for me.
Hmm.
And through doing TikTok and then Instagram added Reels, obviously I was like, hey, Instagram I see as even a higher quality platform at the time. And I'm going to make videos there too. And I started cross promoting and, that saved me some
Hmm.
work. And I was getting reach on both, reaching different types of people. I would say each platform has, each social media platform definitely has a unique audience to it, especially at this
Yeah.
point, now that the big ones like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube have all been around a while. And there are certain people that use it and they're going to engage with you a certain way. They're going to, um, just likes different things. So
Hmm.
that's something to always be aware of too. What like is interesting, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I actually feel like I consume YouTube content the most,
Mm.
but
Hmm.
I make content on TikTok and Instagram.
Hmm. That's
So
interesting.
it's not always maybe the one that you use the most either, thinking it out.
Okay. I want to run this tagline by you.
Yeah.
This was something I was thinking about the other day because I was like, I feel like this feels a little full of myself, so I'd never actually use it. But I was like, I feel like I'm your favorite content creator's favorite content creator. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yes.
so many of the TikTok girlies, and I love them, they talk about my YouTube videos. They say I
Hmm.
learned this concept from Latasha, but they're
Yeah.
not making YouTube videos. They're making TikToks about my YouTube videos. And I think that is a real thing. Like YouTube is like everybody watches it. Every
Yes.
content creator watches, every
My niece,
person.
my niece loves YouTube. We have it
Yes.
on at family dinner night. We literally have YouTube on. Like
Yes.
that's how powerful it is.
Yep, for
Do you
sure.
know, by the way, as a side note, and giving a little bit of like behind the scenes, I feel like if people don't know, do you know where that phrase is from?
No.
Your favorite
Uh-uh.
content creator's favorite content creator?
No.
It's crazy to me that you brought that up
Yeah.
because for anyone who doesn't know, Chapel Roan said it in a
Oh, no
concert at
way.
Coachella, and it completely blew up because she said,
Okay.
"I'm your favorite pop star's favorite pop star."
Ooh. I probably
And
inadvertently
then,
got that from her. I probably
huh?
saw a headline. I probably inadvertently stole that from her. I probably
Well,
saw a
no,
headline
just
or
like a
something.
lot of people started using that kind of reference
Yeah.
after she said it. Now, let's go back even further to where culture kind of starts to come into the social
Hmm.
media ethos of it all. That was a phrase Sasha Colby
Hmm.
said, a famous drag queen, on RuPaul's Drag Race
Oh
when
my
she
gosh.
entered the workroom for the first time.
Amazing. It all
And
comes back to Drag
everybody,
Race.
huh?
It all comes back
It
to
all comes
RuPaul.
back to RuPaul's Drag Race in the digital world. But to be honest, it's crazy because of the impact that had. And in that
Hmm.
moment, it was exactly her. Like she was
Mm,
this drag queen that had never been on the show, but every drag queen would always say, "Oh my gosh, Sasha Colby is just amazing." And then
yeah,
Chaperone said it, and then everybody was like, "Hey, you stole that from Sasha Colby. Like, don't steal from the drag race community." But she was like, "Oh no!" Like she even brought up Sasha Colby on a talk show and was like, "Oh my gosh, no, I love Sasha Colby." Had her at a performance that she did, just to
interesting.
like I mean, we're talking about social media of it all. It's
Yeah.
wild that like these types of things kind of happen.
We
And it
needed,
really shows the power
yeah,
culturally, I think, of content and kind of tying back
absolutely.
to YouTube being a big part of that. I
Yeah.
think YouTube is just, it's everything. Like it's been around
Yeah.
for so long.
We need to do an episode on original ideas, by the way, as a side note,
Oh,
because I
yeah.
have a lot to say on that topic.
We have
But
we talked about that even a lot in our last chat that wasn't a podcast.
yeah,
We
for
have a
sure.
lot to say.
For sure. But yeah, so here's the thing. Like this is what I tell people when they ask me which platform should I start with. Obviously, it's the first answer I gave, which is what do you like? Like
Yeah.
what do you find yourself on the most? What do you think sounds fun? But also where's your audience? Which if we look at sheer volume, a
Yeah.
lot of people are on YouTube, so that might be a place where you can find your net of people.
Mhm.
But if you specifically want to do short form, or if you're thinking, because I always recommend people start with like one long form platform and one short form platform
Yeah.
that they can kind of borrow back and forth from each other, repurpose. Specifically for the short form, look at platform demographics. You can just Google like social media platform demographics report,
Hmm.
and it'll give you a breakdown of, just like you said, every platform has a different kind of age group. Some
Yeah.
genders dominate, like Pinterest tends to be very woman heavy,
Hmm.
compared to Reddit, which is very men, dominated,
Yeah.
things like that. So you can kind of like make your best guess. Obviously we can't, you can't ever guarantee you're only going to hit the right people, but it's
Yeah.
going to be your best shot.
Yeah, and I think that's good, especially for initially finding like which one to create content for, because you do have to put some energy into that to get a feel for how you're being received.
Hmm.
And then on top of that, once you get going, really look at how you're performing. Like for instance, for me, I think this is a great case study of I started with YouTube because I thought it would be the best for me. I found my community on YouTube. I found
Hmm.
out through the comments how much people love Michigan and how other Michiganders wanted to connect.
Yeah.
So I found that, but I definitely did not find my reach. And
Mm.
I definitely did not find that followership that I thought I would have, or that the vibe I got from TikTok after only doing, 10 videos. And that's really was part of TikTok's strategy was out of your first 10 videos, they would really promote one of them.
Mm.
That was what everyone found was kind of the back end algorithms setup. So that really did help, like get me, and that just happened to be something that was niche that I
Hmm.
learned again from doing YouTube. Without YouTube, without my start at YouTube, I never would have been successful on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I spent about a
Interesting.
year doing YouTube videos before I jumped on there. And just like with Instagram, I don't think I would have been successful on Instagram if I didn't do TikTok.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I find that I tend to, when I'm talking to students and stuff, I tend to recommend people do the opposite, or not
Mhm.
recommend, but I find people do the opposite where they find it easier and more accessible to start creating short form content, to like kind of throw spaghetti at the wall to see
Yeah,
which topics land and what they like. And then I'm like, okay, once you find that niche, then create long form content. So it's kind of interesting
yeah,
that you did the reverse. I think you can do
it
it either
is.
way. But I think like this kind of leads to like a question I'm curious about, which I think I know your answer to and my answer to, but like I think there are some platforms that just are kind of easier to start,
Yeah.
right? Like, would we agree that YouTube is one of the harder ones
Very
to,
much. There's
to
a
start?
lot of, you need to almost be like, it feels like you're like making a website and
Hmm.
making videos and uploading them in a certain way that takes a lot of different, especially longer videos. Oh
Hmm.
my gosh, even as someone who I feel like is seasoned, and I'm sure you even feel this sometimes too, like getting an upload uploaded, it's a lot still. The platforms are in no way, shape, or form making it super easy to be like, yeah, we're doing a 30-minute podcast and we're going to upload it.
Yeah, it's a lot.
You know, it's not, the path to it is really a lot harder versus like you were kind of going at. I think TikTok is so easy to just get right into it.
Hmm.
Talk. They make TikTok wants you to do that too. They make it really easy with the audios, the filters, things like that to
Yeah.
just make anything because I think they know deep down, and I think this is a good tip for all the content creators out there who are wanting to be in the content creation space. You got to just start. And it
Hmm.
takes a lot mentally. And I talk to my friends about this who want to start and maybe like confide in me that they want to. It takes a lot to really like say, like, I'm going to put myself on camera and people are going to listen to me.
Yeah, for
You know,
sure.
it's a lot to mentally get over that hump. I think a
Hmm.
little bit of
Yeah.
being on camera.
Yeah. And I think just pulling your phone out of your pocket and basically doing like a glorified Instagram story
Yeah.
is, a lot of people are used to doing that and posting it on TikTok
Yeah.
tends to feel a lot less scary for people. I feel the opposite. When you asked about YouTube, it's
Hmm.
so funny because I've been doing YouTube for so long. I have this like fear of selfies. Like I am terrible about selfies. I don't talk to my Instagram stories, selfie
Yeah.
mode. I hate doing TikTok because of that. Like I feel like I just got so used to seeing my face or count the YouTube way that I like freaks me out to see my phone face on a
Yeah.
phone. But I think a lot of people who are newer now feel the opposite because they are more used to phone things. So,
No, I feel like that is a testament to really understanding the platforms, I think, as well, for someone looking to decide which social media platform to pick. For example, on Instagram, before the videos came around, it was a kind of about being the what someone would expect the influencer to kind of be, of like really pretty shots of you out to dinner or doing something. That's not me. And
mhm,
neither was really TikTok before I joined, where it was a lot of just like dancing people.
mhm.
And although I love dancing, I don't record myself doing it. Now I do, which is funny. Again, doing things in reverse, that's
Yep,
just seems to
yeah.
be that seems to be my theme.
Maybe that's the
Uh
secret though,
Maybe that is a secret,
you
of
know?
like all these people online are telling you to do something a certain way. Again, go with your heart and your gut and be
Mhm.
like, well, maybe I kind of want to try this though instead. Or I had my great friend telling me, oh my gosh, I found so much success on YouTube. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Interesting. Let me try it out maybe then because, that might work out for me.
Well,
So, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but
No.
like with the YouTube to TikTok thing, I think maybe you don't even realize it, but it probably helped you with your storytelling because we always talk
Yes.
about the story arcs, right? And like, you know how to add these different elements into your videos and have this like more complete storytelling framework and come up with
Mm-hmm.
different characters and, this kind of dynamic these dynamic elements to your
Yeah.
TikToks. Whereas a lot of people are like, oh, a TikTok, I just talk to the camera and or
Right.
I just copy someone's, dance or like whatever, which I'm not saying that's bad, but you definitely have more layers, if you
I'm
will.
glad you added that because that actually warmed my heart a little bit to be like, you're right.
Hmm.
So you were like learning new things even in like talking about all this stuff
Yeah.
of yeah, YouTube did help with that because my TikTok videos, the ones that really took off, were essentially um, shrunk YouTube
Hmm.
videos that I would do.
Yep.
Whether it's like adding that little bit of comedy, starting things off, giving that climactic moment, and then like the fall off a little
Yep.
bit too, that maybe has some humor in it to give you that last ending, the hooks of
Yeah.
it all, talking about it. Yeah, really, I think YouTube was a really good school of hard knocks, we'll say, even though it
Mm.
wasn't, scary or hard, but that's just the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Of making 20-minute videos about Michigan
Yeah.
versus 30 seconds, which is what I primarily do now. And look at now, I'm even back to YouTube. Now I'm like,
Yep.
wait, I learned a lot. I understand what your purpose is, and I'm gonna give it a shot doing something more on YouTube that I think fits the mold a little bit better of what even YouTube is looking for. I think
Yeah.
YouTube being the search engine, I mean, it's the second biggest search engine in the world still, I
Hmm.
believe.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that's what gravitated me toward it too, because in marketing, and you'll hear this a lot in the content creation space, SEO, SEO, SEO,
Yep.
although that's typically tied with things like Google search engine and blogs, it's actually very much the foundation of content creation.
Hmm.
So I think that's what gravitated me toward that more because I knew digital marketing. I know SEO is the backbone of all algorithms pretty much, if you think
Yeah.
about it. So I uh, really felt strongly about being in the YouTube space. But I don't think my content was not Entertaining content, like content where the purpose of it is to just entertain, is a little bit hard to get across on YouTube. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yes. I
Educational thrives.
yes, this is such a good point too. I think it very much depends on your niche. Um, I think how to content, educational content, that's really what people look at YouTube as. There's that phrase, YouTube University. Oh,
Hmm.
how'd you learn how to shoot videos or take photos or whatever? YouTube
I haven't
University.
heard of it like
Really?
casually used like that. No.
Oh yeah, yeah. Learn that on YouTube University. You need to fix your car? Go to YouTube University. It's a thing, and like people think of YouTube as a place for how-to content. And even going back to my beauty days, that was
Hmm.
how-to content.
Yeah.
It was teaching people how to do makeup. So I think people very much look at it almost as like a school or like almost a
Hmm.
course platform. So I think if you create any type of content like that, you kind of have to be on YouTube, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're creating skits, jokes, funny things, I think honestly, some of the shorter form platforms may be better
Hmm.
in that people are looking to be entertained on those platforms
Right.
typically. You're scrolling, looking at your friends, and you want to see
Yeah.
a funny video. You don't want to see Latasha teaching you like SEO or
Get
Facebook
out. I'm
ads.
trying to laugh. And even though I'm just say some funny things sometimes.
Yeah. And I think it's about
What's the purpose
picking
though? Yeah.
for sure. And like picking, if you are going to do multiple platforms, like I do, and like we all
Hmm.
do, really, it's finding clips or finding posts that fit that platform too.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to post like a boring talking head, like, hey guys, today we're going to do on TikTok. I'm going to
Right.
choose that funny moment or that pop culture moment that I reference or whatever to fit the platform.
Yeah, I think that's why it worked out like shorts worked out so well for YouTubers because you're like, yeah, I do have a funny moment in there that I think is really impactful. Okay, I can
Mhm.
kind of do that in my shorts world
Yeah.
versus the people ready to sit down and learn something, which I think is what people really love you for. I mean, your videos are so easy to sit down and watch forever. That's crazy to me that someone's able to make something that keeps your interest for 30 minutes in this world where people are like, I don't watch movies anymore
Mhm.
because I can't keep an interest.
Yeah.
To sit down
Interesting.
and watch YouTube stuff. I think it's because it's that learning aspect of wanting
Hmm.
to uh, become better. Maybe that's deep down what it's
Yep.
about.
Right.
And yeah, YouTube's just really good for that. So that's our reco a little bit too. I mean, I know we sound like we're gravitating toward YouTube a lot, but I would say if you're especially educational content or if you're trying to teach anyone anything, I would definitely say YouTube's a good place to start. And obviously,
This
depending on some other things, but
this is a big question, but what do you think? We talked about kind of what's easiest,
hmm.
right? Like, okay, pick up your phone, make a TikTok, make an Instagram reel, whatever. What's most worthwhile? If somebody's like, I want to become a full-time content creator by this
Hmm.
time next year, what do you think is the best bang for their buck?
I feel like they should start the music for like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire question. Like
I know we're
da.
sweating.
Oh gosh. What do I say? No, I think as a end all be all statement, I feel like I almost want to say TikTok. I mean,
Mm,
even going back to the beginning of this where we see the growth at, TikTok has the least amount of, we'll say people, which I would say is least amount of competition
yeah.
comparably to these other ones, referencing it back, and has the most growth. Least
Hmm.
competition, most growth is SEO inclined.
Yeah.
So, and to give you all perspective on what really ties in with SEO on something like TikTok, on my videos, I mention the word Michigan a lot. I put it in my text on the video. I put in the
Hmm.
description. I use it as a hashtag. Odds are TikTok's going to send that to somebody who's also looked at other videos about Michigan. And that's
Hmm.
really the connection that comes in. And I think that especially if you have a niche, which I think everyone should have a little bit of niche something in
Yeah.
order, especially I would say that's actually a huge reco if you want to be a content creator paid this time next year. Make
Yeah.
sure you have a niche that is still can be like widely used. Like I went Michigan versus within that, there's Metro Detroit, there's Michigan travel, there's all these sub niches, but have just at least a top level niche. Yeah, I would say TikTok though, because of the search engine aspect. I mean, people are really using it as a search engine now, and it's entertaining. So you can have both kind of educational or entertaining. So if you don't know, I think it's good to start there because then you might find one of the other works best for you.
Yeah. I'm going to potentially give a hot take. Might ruffle some feathers.
Ooh.
I think that YouTube is the hardest platform to grow,
Hmm.
but I think it is the one that will bring you the longest term results and the biggest potential for
Hmm.
rewards. And the reason I say this, well, we didn't really get deep into this, but YouTube does have a more established in-platform monetization system than TikTok or
Yeah.
Instagram. Instagram has the bonuses. I don't even know what TikTok does nowadays, but most people
Yeah.
aren't making money from their TikTok
No.
views. Not like that. YouTube, you can be a relatively small creator like myself. I mean, most of my videos get 2,000 views, 3,000 views,
Yeah.
and you can pay your mortgage, pay your rent just from that.
Right.
So it is now that's not necessarily going to get you rich, those kinds of views, but it is sustainable, like that slow and steady
Yeah.
sustainable income. And then the other thing I think about YouTube is it's really interesting because, like you just mentioned, you're coming full circle. I see so many creators who not necessarily are giving up on short form content,
Hmm.
but are now that they've kind of built up their short form content platforms are going to the more legacy new
Yeah.
media, YouTube, podcasts, starting a blog, those types of things, newsletters, because I think there will always be a hunger for that longer form connection. If somebody likes
Hmm.
Ryan Redoute on TikTok, they want Ryan Redoute in their earbuds. They want,
Something. Right.
all of that like old school stuff. I mean, I know some people do say they don't watch movies anymore, but like, come on, like, look at the numbers for Wicked. Like, people
Right.
do. If the
Yes.
content's good, if they like it, if it has good actors, they will watch it. So I say do both. That's what I definitely think you have to do a little bit of both because I
That's a
think
good thing.
TikTok, Instagram, it's like that exposure platform where
Hmm.
that's how you grow. But I think where you build loyalty is longer form, whether that's
Yeah.
YouTube, a newsletter, something like that.
I agree. I'm bubbling up a bit actually from your comment. I'm like, are we gonna get into a nice little back and forth here?
Ooh,
Because
you're like
my
Arthur
take,
Fist.
hot take on what you said is the people on TikTok that got really big
Hmm.
and are really struggling. I'm gonna tell you, they probably don't know what they're famous for. They don't
Mm.
have no idea. I'll hear people who have large followings say like, "Well, I still don't know how the algorithm works." I'm like, "You don't at this point know why you get views?
Yeah.
That's problematic. If you
Yeah.
don't know what you did to get to that point, then how can you even look to the future and how can you grow and how can you build?" What's funny is that you said you are noticing some are going from TikTok in that sense to YouTube.
Hmm.
I think it's funny because I would say they probably are forced to
Mm.
niche down, to pick a topic,
Yeah.
and to really focus in on what content they want to make when they go to YouTube because you have to talk a lot
Mm.
about it or talk
Yeah.
more about it. So I'd almost say like that's almost again tying back to my journey. Sometimes you got to go to a different platform
Yep.
to then switch it and learn, oh, okay, this is why maybe I was doing well on TikTok
Yep.
or why I wasn't because I
Yep.
wasn't talking about the same thing. I
Absolutely.
feel like that can kind of add to the mix as well too. But I agree
Yeah.
that like because they're both video platforms, TikTok and YouTube are good for um TikTok's definitely good for like that max reach to get your face
Hmm.
known. And then,
Yep.
like you said, kind of shift over maybe to something that's a bit more engaging. Like for me, I think Instagram was a bit more engaging
Yeah.
at the time. Or like, I mean, that's hard to say actually because TikTok just didn't have like shares yet,
Yeah.
or like things like that that Instagram already had.
Hmm.
So both kind of contributed good engagement. Like I get a tons of comments on all these videos,
Yeah.
but the reason I think we both, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, agree that Instagram maybe is a harder place to start is because it's a bit more polished. Like
Mm.
Instagram, everything is expected to be a bit more pretty,
Hmm.
edited nice, and you need to know who you are. I think a bit
Hmm.
more to be on Instagram or who you aren't. I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing too. Versus the other ones, you can kind of play a little bit more.
Yeah.
I guess is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah. I think so. I think Instagram, and I think this is going to bring us into some hot coffee or tea, perhaps. I've got some hard hitting, juicy questions I want to ask.
I'm
But
excited.
like thinking about the future of these platforms, I think is
Yeah.
important too. So, Instagram, I think pretty universally creators are saying like declining reach, like why is everything tanking? Like I mean, I know
Mhm.
you've said different things to me, which I'm like, I don't know what kind of magic potion you've got over there. I guess if you make Michigan content,
It's a secret that I
Instagram
will share bits
reels,
of on this podcast.
yeah. But I would say like 90% of people that I talk to in all, education, how to,
Yeah.
lifestyle, beauty are like reaches down, it's a sinking ship. And I don't want to be like fear mongering and say that
Mhm.
is totally true. I think Instagram, for me, I guess my prediction for Instagram is that it's kind of going to become like Facebook, where honestly, when I'm looking up restaurants in a new city, if they don't have a Facebook page, I'm often weirded out. I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I want to look at reviews or whatever.
Yeah.
It might not be the thing I scroll or look for entertaining content on, but it's kind of like that, almost like the yellow pages. So I still think
Mhm.
it's important to invest in. And also for community, I still have DM conversations with listeners, viewers every day. I still post stories almost every day. So I think it still has value, but I do think in terms of discovery, it's a little struggle bussy. What do you think?
That is an amazing point to make. Discoverability
Hmm.
on Instagram, it's not really there. I don't think. I
Hmm.
mean, I guess I would say if you're making short form video, you could. I don't think there's
Hmm.
all hope is lost, like Latasha was saying. I think people have been saying that about. I've heard other people say that about Instagram. I've had nothing but success lately. I think over the past year or two. Actually, no. I had 1 year of like extreme growth, and then since then, it's been really hard to grow my followership. I
Hmm.
think that's very interesting
Hmm.
because I'm getting millions of views on videos that are niche,
Hmm.
that are exactly how they were before. So I think that people are just maybe following less on
Hmm.
Instagram too, slash, that's like they'd rather share something of your content. And if they're already seeing it, they're like, I'll probably see it again. Why
Yeah.
do I need to follow?
Right.
And that's why I think recently we actually saw on Threads, which
Mhm.
I feel like is a very fun new platform that I love.
Yep.
We just saw on Threads that the CEO of Instagram said that they switched the algorithm to focus your content on sending it more to more people who follow you versus a for you experience,
Yes.
and explaining like similar to TikTok.
Yep.
So I think they noticed that issue too. Because it's
Yeah.
weird. I think it's weird that the amount of views I get on videos, it's weird that from a 100,000 view video, I would get maybe 20 followers. Because it
Yeah.
tells you how many followers you got from a specific video.
Right.
And I think that's where, going back to the main question, which one should you choose? Instagram's not as easy to be discovered on.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
something to note.
What about TikTok? I know who knows what'll happen by the time this episode airs, but we're recording in early
Mm,
December. I think this is something I hear from people a lot. Well, what about this TikTok ban?
yeah.
What about, which it's a forced sale, not a ban, but anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
I it's
Is it a smart place to plant roots, in
right.
this
It
climate?
stinks. That's why I almost would say like Instagram, if you're going short form video, which again I've had a lot
Hmm.
of success with, could be a good place to start too with YouTube, even comparably to something like TikTok. Uh, I think TikTok. I mean, Facebook has gone through a plethora of data court cases
Hmm.
and has been threatened by the government. I'm sure numerous times, and I think there's actually it has been. I don't think TikTok's going to go away. I do think that it's annoying from getting a brand deal perspective because businesses are scared to do things on it because they're like, well, if it goes away, why do I care about growing my page, and collabing with this influencer person? And
Yeah.
so my hot take though is that it's not going away. It's going to stay around. I think it's such a gem of a platform. Even TikTok itself, if they really, really were forced to, would sell it
Hmm.
because there's no way they can let something that's so ingrained into society at this point just
Yeah.
disappear at this point. Back
Yeah.
when it did get removed from the App Store for a day, that was when it had just changed from Musically and
Oh,
no
yeah.
one really knew about it.
Yeah.
It's been 4 or 5 years since then. It is ingrained into society. These big businesses that make billions of dollars, they do not go down
Yeah.
easily. So that's my take.
Yeah. I agree. My only point of disagreement is that while Meta has been through so many lawsuits, Meta's based in Menlo Park or wherever,
Mhm.
California, not China. And so
Yeah.
I think does get a little different when you're dealing with foreign governments, especially the CCP. However, I agree with you. I don't think it's going for the huge, all the reasons that you mentioned, but
Hmm.
also the, political administration is going to change by the time this is supposed to happen. So not to get political, but I just don't think that guy is probably going to do it.
Right.
That's my 2 cents. I have no idea. We could both be wrong, but
Right.
I do think it is important, like to keep in mind, to your point about the brand deal thing, or just about the longevity or the volatility, the potential volatility of the
Yeah.
platform. It's not to say you shouldn't do it, but maybe think about diversifying. Think about, okay,
Yeah.
start uploading, if nothing else, if you're a TikToker, create a YouTube and start uploading them as shorts. Create an
Right.
Instagram, upload them as reels, just so that you're not like left with zero if the worst happens. And that's true for everybody. That's true for me. Like
Right.
that's why I have an Instagram and a TikTok, even though it's small. If God forbid YouTube went away, I could scale TikTok if I,
Right.
needed to. So,
I would say too, just to add a final note on that, that it's never going to be a waste what you decide.
mhm.
Because even for me, I decided to go into TikTok right after it was taken off the App Store for a day and was threatened to be removed altogether.
Yep.
And because of TikTok, my Instagram grew really fast. I think because face recognition, I knew what to post, I knew how to form it, I knew how to structure it.
Yep.
So know that like whatever you decide, there you can make a best decision, but that's not to say that it's gonna be a complete waste ever too.
No. I don't think any experience is a waste, really.
Um,
You learn something, like
yeah,
you talked about, you found your niche, I've done TikToks. No, I'm not like a TikTok star, but it
right.
does. It helps me be more concise or just kind of learn some of the maybe more trending topics, things that I can integrate in. So,
Hmm.
yeah, you don't have to commit forever. Just try things out, figure out what feels good, what feels awful, and lean into that.
Yeah. Listen to the whispers, as Oprah says.
Listen to your heart.
Listen to your heart. What were these hot questions you had
Well,
for
that was the biggest one, honestly. But
me?
I guess we could do a quick rapid fire of
Yeah,
which one do you think is the easiest to get good at? I think we kind of covered
there
that.
you
I
go.
mean, TikTok, would you agree?
Yeah, I think TikTok's definitely the easiest to get good at. They empower people to create, I think, the most of any other platform.
Yeah. And the most worth your time. We already talked about that too.
Yeah,
We differ, I guess, in opinion there a little bit.
a little bit, but I think we both have good points that I think anyone listening can relate to more. You know what I'm
What do you
saying?
totally? What do you think about because we mentioned it briefly, like Threads, I mentioned Reddit. What do you think about some of these platforms? Because a lot of people are like, I want to be a content creator, but I don't want to make video. Do you think here's a real hot question.
Yeah,
Do you have to make video to be a content creator today?
I think the world of AI, yeah. I
Mm.
think that with AI, I mean, you can make any graphic in a second,
Oh,
but you
yeah,
can't
that's true.
replace who you are as a person, and who you are as a person can really be shown on video. And on top of that, TV is completely going away. Cable television, as people watch it, obviously has been going away for a while to streaming platforms. To me, YouTube Shorts, YouTube in general, Instagram video, Reels, TikTok video, these are all things that are essentially TV replacement
Hmm.
outside of things that are for educational. I mean, people would even watch things on screen that are educational too,
Yeah.
training videos, things like that. So I would say that the future is video focused because people want to know you,
Hmm.
and you, like I said, with AI, I mean, maybe they can even create an AI version of this podcast in 10
Oh,
years,
totally.
with
Probably
us.
next year. Let's be real.
Right. Or I always kind of tie into like what AI can't do, and video is
Hmm.
very hard. I mean, you've seen them poke fun, at least for now. AI can make a really convincing graphic. It
Hmm.
can't make a convincing, I mean, I'm sure it's getting good. And
Hands.
I'm sure there's like isolated cases, but at least for the next year or two, right now video is still authentic, and humans want to connect with other humans. I mean, for the most part, unless they're dancing and singing, I really don't want to watch an AI character,
Yeah.
talk about content creation. I want a real perspective.
Real, real. Well, I will counter that again.
Hmm.
I will be the voice for the shy video people. Like, yeah, I think if you want to be Mr. Beast, whatever, if you
Yeah,
want to be this global Forbes cover content creator, uh, yeah, I think it's
yeah.
going to be hard to do that without doing video. But I do think there is a such thing as the kind of journeyman creator, the everyday, the blue collar creator, if you will. You can make 60, 70, $80,000 from writing threads, writing a Substack and
Hmm.
monetizing that, having a newsletter that is affiliate link driven, uh, sponsorship newsletters. You
Yeah.
really can. I do believe that. And I do agree that it's so sad because I just love the written word. That was my first love. That's how I got started as a freelancer, as being a freelance writer.
Hmm.
I had dreams of writing a book, and I think AI kind of like knocked me down from that. It scared me, but I do think people will still write books. And I actually think that people will value the human, like that's the new novelty, is human generated content. I
Right.
I have at the bottom of my newsletters, this newsletter is written by a human, written with love by a human. I get so many people responding being like, oh my gosh, I love this. And then when I actually reply to them, they're like, oh my gosh, you really are real.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of a feature that you can lean into still. And I think like Threads, I think Substack,
Yeah.
Beehive, all these newsletter platforms are ones to watch too.
What's funny is like, and this is where I think we talked about in previous episodes too about us like being on opposite sides but the same. So like in my head too, I'm like in the future, I'm like I kind of want to have an AI character that like is
Gosh.
like going through Michigan, you know what I mean, or like
Yeah.
doing stuff like that's where I picture. I mean, I even have like the Meta headset thing,
Yep.
and I've been like having ideas around that. Although it hasn't become popular, once it is, I have
Yeah.
ideas ready to go for like the AI world of it all or
I love
the
it.
virtual world of it
Well, I
all.
don't love it.
You're like, I know. I mean, even myself, I'm like, do I love it? I don't know. Maybe. I don't. I don't. I think that uh, with AI, we'll always need to push creative boundaries. So there will always
Hmm.
be something to create more of, to create differently, to create
Yeah.
something. I think that's something that we stick to. I would say though, like for me, written is not out of the game either. I mean, I even
Hmm.
started in-michigan.com, which is
Yeah.
all about Michigan blogs, features, very much my personal opinion in a lot of things, but also some, more SEO grabs, we'll call them, to get some reach going. But I'm
Yep.
able to make that written extension of my content
Yeah.
that, I mean, just the other day I got 22 organic clicks. I was really proud
Yep.
of that. I was like, whoa, I haven't promoted at all, and it's got 22 organic clicks in Google search engine. That's amazing. Cool.
Yep. For
So
sure.
I think and I plan to expand that, and I hope that it becomes a pretty popular place to go. And it's almost like thinking differently of like, I'm not doing it because I want to make written content. I'm doing it because I want a hub for
Hmm.
more of my content and for a hub for people to go to and discover more about Michigan. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a good like tidbit to share too of like written could be good, but it just depends on how you use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to be the old lady in a cabin in the remote woods with a candle and a typewriter writing books.
Right.
So pick your poison.
And I think
Pick
we
your
both agree.
poison.
I think we both love Threads.
Yeah, I
I
do.
think Threads is cool.
Mhm.
I think Threads is the I talk about like choosing platforms. I never liked Twitter, and look at it now. And
Yeah.
then Threads to me is like more me
It's the
than,
bridge.
and
Because
maybe
I
it will
was,
be, eventually more like Twitter was, but for now
yeah,
I like it structure
yeah.
a lot more.
I was a Twitter power user. And I
You were
just actually
you're big on Twitter.
deleted. Yeah, I just deleted my Twitter officially. So
Nice.
I stopped using it a while back, but
Yeah.
I've officially deleted it. But yeah, I think Threads there's a need for that type of micro blogging
Hmm.
content. That's just top of the dome,
I noticed somebody funny thing about content creation of like content creators will always find a way to make something work for them. This
Mm,
person wrote a paragraph in their original thread and then it
mhm.
said, read the comments for the rest of the blog. I read through it. I read through probably like 8 paragraph comments of the story that they were sharing.
Yeah,
So that's even becoming long form,
absolutely.
in a way.
Yep.
Like the medium, I think is
Yep.
like a long form version of that a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like we talked about some amazing things about choosing a platform. If you still feel like you don't know, feel free to leave us a comment on this video and let us know if you would like to talk about anything else specific platform wise. I think is a
Yeah.
good another topics that we can talk into, maybe just isolating to one platform in future episodes and really going a deep dive on that. Be sure to leave a review on this podcast too if you're liking these first couple of episodes.
Yes.
And other than that, do you have any final send offs?
Do what you love, kids. Do what you love.
That's a good way to end it, I think. Bye, everyone.
Bye.